Good afternoon. It's early afternoon now, Wednesday, April 8th at 12:10 p.m. Hope you're doing well. As you can hear in my voice, or maybe you can't, allergy season is absolutely doing what it does to me every year. Takes away my voice and my spirit. Not really my spirit, but anyway. In today's episode of Ever Grateful Attitudes, I'm going to talk a little bit about what Purdue accomplished this season, why you should be smiling when you think about it, and we're going to look ahead at what's coming and what has already happened with the roster. Before I talk about what's ahead and what's behind, let me thank our friends at Homefield Apparel. Head to homefieldapparel.com and grab a shirt or a jacket. You don't want a jacket this time of year, but sweatshirt, hat. They got it all there, homefieldapparel.com. And also, when you're on campus, when you're in God's country, if you're going to visit your niece and nephew on campus, where do you go? Head towards the fire station. When you get there, turn to the left and look at those blue lights. There's AJ's welcoming you in, asking you to come sit down, watch some of the nice televisions. Maybe have an appetizer or a pint or a mixed drink or a root beer or a Coca-Cola, whatever you'd like. I'm not going to encourage you to drink what you don't want to drink, but it's all delicious there. EatAJ's.com, burgers, beef, beer. That's AJ's. AJ's by the fire station. Man, my voice, I haven't talked really that much this morning, and as I go on the air, I realize that I really can't generate too much because of my throat. So I apologize for you having to deal with it, but I do think I've got some good information to pass on if you haven't thought of it. It's not going to be new information to you, I'm guessing, if you're a Boiler fan, but it's something, just a reminder of how things are. First, I'm going to go over this season, and I think this will be the last time I do this, but I think it's worthwhile. Last episode, I talked about how special it is to get to the Elite Eight, how difficult it is to get to the Final Four. And as we saw in the Final Four, the talent there was truly elite. You look at all over, there were tons of NBA players, just dudes that it's a tough thing, honestly, when you look at the history of the Final Four and the teams that make it and how many of those people are first round or lottery picks. The tough thing that we look at as Purdue fans is how many lottery picks we had all time, right? And to get to that level, what does Purdue need to do? Well, I think the priorities would need to change, and I think there would have to be some angel investors of some sort, and I don't think we're going to get it. But in the meantime, Purdue's a team that really has an identity, and Painter has an identity in the way he's building the program, and it's something I think Purdue fans can hang their hat on. I'll stick by that. It's difficult to get the Elite Eight. How difficult is it to get the Elite Eight for Purdue? Well, it's only 7 times in the history of the program, and one of those was this year. It's happened 3 times under Painter. Purdue had 30 wins this year. They ended the season with 30 wins. That's only the 3rd time in the program history, and all 3 are under Painter. Purdue finishes number 6 in the nation. That's also pretty good to be in the top 10. It's the 11th time ever in the history of the program. 7 of those 11 are under Painter. And then when you look at some other things, Purdue won another holiday tournament back in November, and they won the Big Ten men's basketball tournament. That's the 3rd time in the program's history, all 3 under Painter. Reason I hit this idea is I still am hearing whispers of people saying that they're not happy with the state of things. And on one hand, I understand where you're coming from and that you want more. You want to see the next steps taken for your alma mater. Most of you guys are alums. If you're not, God bless you, because it's a hard road. You've chosen to be a Boilermaker fan, as we all know. But it's a good road at the same time. It's important. It's important to understand that you've got it pretty good. That's my whole point about this first segment. I really wanted to look at that idea and say things are pretty good at Purdue. Even as you look ahead next year with the team, with the roster, things are still pretty good. Purdue has one of the best recruiting classes they've had in the history of the program. And granted, a lot of teams are not building rosters this way. They're not leaning that heavily on guys coming out of high school. But Painter's choosing to do that, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's the one thing you could say is as you look ahead to the class of 27, maybe you think, If Painter's going to build heavily using classes, maybe he looks at shifting some of the money towards truly elite guys. The problem is he wants to continue with guys of high character, guys that value their education. This is not easy anymore. It's really not. But I do think part of the reason a lot of Purdue players are sticking around as 42% of active NCAA players have entered the portal. It's not a good number if you're in my position, but as 42% of the players have entered the portal, Purdue continues to be relatively steady. Is it done as everyone who's going to enter the portal entered the portal from Purdue's roster? I hope so, but there's also a possibility they still could. So the rosters have not completely settled all over America. There is tons of tampering happening now that some of the most guilty people in all of the tampering NCAA world are available now to set their sights and do all the tampering they can because the tournament's over. It will happen. Will it happen to Purdue this year? I don't know. I would guess yes, just because that's the way things work right now. And there are no penalties from the NCAA. If you didn't know this, the NCAA was ready to drop a hammer on different programs that had tampered in sports like football and basketball specifically. And the Big Ten commissioned the punishment to be, or the ruling to be pushed back, to be moved back. And I still don't understand why Purdue would sign off on such an action, but I believe they did. And I think that's kind of self-loathing type of thing. If you're not part of it, sign on to that and say, yeah, bring some accountability into the game. The tampering rule still does exist, by the way. And I know many Purdue fans and many college basketball fans don't realize it because there's no teeth behind it, but there still is a tampering rule. And the NCAA was prepared not only to enforce it, but put fines and suspensions behind it. And the Big Ten and a couple other entities said they shouldn't do it right now. I don't know if they'll ever be held accountable until the rules are changed drastically. The really bad thing, if you're somebody like me and you don't like the way things are going, there's really no change on the horizon for the mass entries to the portal and the tampering, which are two of the biggest problems in college game. Another one, of course, is the lack of transparency. I've been talking about this like it's a broken record, and I think it's going to continue until we see change. It has to change. The reason it has to change is because right now you've got things happening that it's constantly the agents are running the game. And I don't like seeing it. And I think it's going to continue. All right. So let me move on to Purdue's roster. Things that have happened already. And then we'll look ahead at things that might happen. There's a lot of talk. Dustin Schutte put out an article about who Purdue's starting five will be next year. I think it's an interesting conversation. It's an interesting thought exercise. Remember, like I said, the rosters aren't even set, number one, for many teams. For Purdue, it looks like it could be pretty set, but there's still room for that to change as well. Within the rules, Purdue can still go after one or two guys if they want to hit that portal and bolster what they already have. But when you look at the roster the way it stands right now, you start saying there's not a ton of room there unless you redshirt multiple players. Will Purdue do that? They've done it in the past. I think they've had two redshirts in one class in the last, 3-4 years. So that could happen again. But when you look at that roster, I'll talk about what I see, and you can bounce your thoughts off of me here as well. Okay, so the biggest news in the last couple of days that I haven't talked about because I've been on here in a week was Omer Meyer made it official that he re-signed. He will return next year. A lot of people said, I hate the fact that there's that announcement. In Omer's defense, in Omer's agent's defense, and I don't know exactly how he's represented. I do know he has got an agency behind him. But one thing this does is it should theoretically keep the vultures from coming in and trying to pick him off. If he signed a contract, if it's a done deal, I would think that's a pretty clear signal. And these guys are already probably pretty sick of getting tampering calls. If they don't get them, their agents are getting, and I don't know what the agreements with most of these guys what the agreement is for most of these guys. But dealing with that pressure as you're doing other things, whether it's some of these guys actually are still studying, some of them are working out, some are trying to get healthy, whatever. It's a tough thing to navigate. And on one hand, yes, they are getting paid and they are pros. On the other hand, That tampering, that sort of tampering, because people always bring up the NBA and they say, well, this is professional basketball, this is professional football, whatever. The NBA and the NFL do not have to deal with that, because if you tamper in those leagues, there are real teeth and real punishment behind getting found out for doing that. Guys will get fined $500,000. Guys will get fined more than that. Guys will get suspended. Right now in the NCAA, that doesn't happen. And that's a big shame. It's really not right. If you're going to say we're having perpetual flowing free agency, fine, but there still should be tampering rules. There still should absolutely have tampering rules, because it would protect the players and it would protect the quality of the game. If you're into the quality of the game, I can't figure out people's priorities. I know people are all over the board. I know not everybody agrees with me, but it seems to me that's a no-brainer to get that in place. But again, it's not on the horizon right now, and that needs to change quickly, in my opinion. Okay, so you've got Meyer returning. You've got both Harris and Cox understanding that this team becomes their team next year, and they both sound like they're pretty resolute on being a big part of Purdue basketball next year and being a part of something that's different. We haven't seen it in a couple of years, where Purdue is going to be the underdog. That's pretty fun. At the same time, while being the underdog in the Big Ten, they're still 21st in the nation, according to a couple different polls in the very, very, very early prognostication. Like I just referenced, those are kind of foolish prognostications, of course, but I think in a way, they're just saying, yeah, Matt Painter deserves that sort of respect, and I get that. On the other hand, you look at the roster and you're like, man, there's going to be a lot of new guys having significant roles. We'll talk about that in just a second. Another big piece of news, walk-on Aaron Fine has entered the portal. Aaron Fine from Noblesville, good player, good basketball player, and he will contribute someplace. I wish him luck. And finally, still no word on Oscar Cluff's status, if he'll return, if he'll be able to return according to the NCAA. We just don't know. Brian Newbert, who has a lot more of an inside view on this than I do, he doesn't know. And I'll just keep reading what I can, and I'll come back to you guys and react when I hear something, but there's just nothing official yet. Remember, here's what Purdue has lost. They lost Trey Kaufman-Renn. They lost Fletch Lawyer. They lost Braden Smith. They lose Liam Murphy, and they'll probably lose Oscar Cluff. 5 players off the roster are gone, right? And in their stead, you bring in guys like Ertl, Weber, Huan, Knight, did I get all of them? And Pierce, Caden Pierce. That's 5 players to fill 5 spots. One really interesting thing I think Purdue has coming is the red shirt of King. The reason I think this one is interesting is I think King could play kind of an Eifert type role, maybe not quite as many minutes, but next year he could bolster Purdue's bigs. He's a really good basketball player. I think he's 6'9", 6'10", right in there. If you've ever watched him play, I've said it before, I've referenced this before, he's a really good player. And I think he could play minutes. His red shirt could become something that is significant for Purdue, as his attitude and the way he plays the game could be important. And granted, I haven't heard this on the plan, like this is exactly what they're planning. But when you look at Purdue's bigs, you see that there is some room in there. There will be some minutes to be found, I think, for him. And especially if he is a guy that's a dog like Eifert was, who just, and he looks like he could be that guy. When I've watched him play in like scrimmage type situations, he's a really good player. Purdue's walk-ons have been pretty good last few years. Yeah, there's a spot for him. All right, let's go through the roster. At the 1, you're going to have Ertl and Meyer splitting time, I think. The interesting thing about both of them is they're not, to me, either they're the most modern version of the point guard because they're looking to score a lot. They're not like Braden Smith where they're facilitators first. So you could call them combo guards, or you can call them just modern point guards, whatever you want, whatever you're fancy. I don't care. But those 2 guys will split time at the 1. Who's going to start? I don't know. I really don't care about that. The big thing I want guys to accept their role and understand there's importance to being the guy off the bench. There's importance to being the guy who is the starter. There are inherent advantages with being the guy who comes off the bench, though. Make no bones about it. And for that reason, I think you might see Ertl coming off the bench and Meyer starting, and I'm waffling on this. I think a couple weeks ago, I said Ertl would start. Right now, I lean towards Meyer, and the reason I lean towards Meyer is just his physical ability to handle a Division I Big Ten point guard. He can take a beating. He loves to work through traffic and through contact. Ertl is a guy who relies a lot more heavily on his jumper. He's a lefty, but he can rain the three. So very, very different style of play from both. And according to Painter, according to many, Ertl will just be a tremendous impact player right away. And I tend to agree with the videos that I've seen. Ertl, of course, coming off of a state championship and will probably be Mr. Basketball soon. All right, and at the 2, you're going to have Cox and West splitting time, and then maybe Harris will go over there and play the 2 and the 3 in Purdue's system. At the 3, you've got Harris, Benter, and Weber. And yes, I put Benter at the 3, not the 4, for a reason. If you know what Benter did in high school, he would play all guard positions, and him playing down closer to the basket, not that it's an unnatural position for him, but I do think he'd be better at the 3. And I think if you look at that group of 2 or 3, 2.5 players, since you put Harris in that group, Harris is Swiss Army knife. He can do a lot of things. The real question is how much impact Antoine West will be able to make. If Antoine West comes in right away and he's as good as Braden Smith talked about him, it'll be very, very hard for them not to move Harris over to the 3. Pardon me for hitting the mic. But Benter has shown his impact. And then you've got Weber. Weber, I've been excited about him since he signed with Purdue. Weber is a guy, though, a lot of Purdue fans think there's a possibility of a red shirt there. And if you do that, I think the other red shirt is Rivers Knight. I think he will red shirt because he's coming off of injury. That's an easy decision. It's a very Painter-like decision for a guy that struggled with injury his senior year to come right in, get a chance to get his legs under him and get acclimated with the system and not have to rush back into action. Weber is healthy, though. The only thing with Weber is you look at him, you're like, it'd be nice if he had a couple more pounds on him, but he's a scorer and he can do a lot of things. I'm excited to see him in a Purdue uniform. At the 4, you'll have Pierce, of course, the transfer portal get from the Ivy League. I think he'll make instant impact. He's a guy that if you've watched his videos, again, very athletic, very good shooter, very good scorer, The one question is, how will he hold up on defense at the 4 in the Big Ten? I think that's a real question. Burgess is a guy who's a big, strong guy, of course. He's coming off redshirt due to injury. He will bolster Pierce there. And then I think King will come in there. I don't want to say guessing, but I'm looking at the situation thinking he could be useful there. And then Burgess can also play a little bit of the 5. He's big enough and strong enough that you could split him between the 4 and the 5. And the 5 right now, you've got Jacobson and Huan. I'm probably not pronouncing Huan's name correctly. But he's a guy who's a little bit bulkier than Jacobson, but he gives up an inch or two. He's, I think, 7 foot even right now. Very, very skilled. He looks to me more like a big that we've seen in other places in the Big Ten, not really at Purdue. And that's an interesting challenge for Painter. How do you deal with a guy who's better in the open court, better face-up player really than he is with the back to the basket? The really great thing about all those players is they get to work with Brandon Brantley. Brandon Brantley has developed big so darn well. He's going to do it again, and I'm excited to see what he does with all that group of 5 right there. So does Purdue have room, like I said before, to sign another player or 2? They do. They do. According to the rules, I think you can go all the way up to 15 scholarship players, and some schools take advantage of that. Purdue really hasn't. They've had room for walk-ons. Purdue right now has room for a couple walk-ons or a couple guys to sign. If I were Purdue and I was going to look at the advantages, the things that Matt Painter has done in the past, he's tried to find guys that have graduated already. So they're like the equivalent of the old grad transfer, and they come in and they bolster the team with their maturity, both physically and mentally. And if you look at a guy that I think Purdue could benefit from, again, in that, of course, a lot of people think wing first. I really don't think wing first. What I would look at is I'd look for a guy like Travion Williams with a temper. And I keep saying that's what I want to see. A guy with that sort of mentality who's willing to say, I'll take whatever minutes you give me. I'm going to attack the glass. I'll get rebounds. I can pass. And I can stop somebody at the rim. But really, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder wouldn't be a bad thing. The hard thing is finding a guy who has the chip on his shoulder on the court, but off the court is a Purdue guy and a good fit in this roster that's going to be talented, but is going to be a work in progress. I think a lot of Purdue fans are going to enjoy watching this team grow up. It's going to be so much different than what we've seen the last couple of years where so many roles were just defined. Even 2 years ago, Purdue had a lot of parts in place that you're like, you know what you're going to get from 3 of the 5 starting 5 all the time. This year, though, I mean, you've got 2 guys that we really know really well as starters. And after that, you have guys growing into their roles. That'll be a ton of fun. Bunch of you guys are here. Appreciate you guys being here. And Ted Berkey is first. Good afternoon to you. Big Red Boiler says, after another afternoon delight. Indeed, we're all here together. Greg McManus says, hey, how are you? Ben Carnahan says, hello from DFW. Taking the bus to LaGuardia later. Hope you're doing well. Go Trains. I'm actually going to head down that way to DFW. I will miss you. I will not see you in Dallas-Fort Worth, but I'm heading that way soon. Marshall Briggs says, good afternoon, Dowd. Just when I was looking for something to watch on lunch, here you are. Great timing, brother. I'm glad to do it. I think this is going to be more the normal rhythm. I've already tried. There's a concept I'm trying to put together for the summer where I do something a little bit different, and it takes things that are outside of my power. Hopefully the Purdue football team answers me soon. That's the only hint I'll give you. But this summer, there's something I want to do because I would like to. I'll just tell you what I want to do. My goal is I want to get to know the Purdue football roster a little bit better, and to get to know players, you have to go through the organization. I think it's the easiest way to do it, and I have commissioned them to allow me to talk to a couple guys and to put them on a schedule. That'll be a little bit different. That won't be the open forum here because. You never know who you're going to get in the margins. All you guys are great, but who knows who's going to be here. And so that'll be probably a taped and produced thing. And then I would put it on the site, put it on the stream. But I have to get permission to do it first. So I'm giving it a try to do something new that would really give us good rhythm over the off season to do something weekly, bi-weekly, whatever. On top of that, I will react to news as it comes out. There still should be news the next few weeks, hopefully no bad news out of the roster stuff, but we'll see what happens. As it comes out, I will react. There's no hurry. This is the other thing. You guys might get angry at me because I'm not a clickbait guy. I'm not a guy who reacts right away when I don't have to. So I will take some time like I did here. I took a couple days to react to the end of the season and to the roster moves so far. So that's probably what I'm going to do in the offseason. Just give you a heads up. Steve Azano says, NIL era is weird. I agree. Saw a post the other day about Omer being, Omer and got, there we go. Sorry, I'm getting ahead. Saw a post about Omer and got scared for a second, realized it was just an announcement he was returning. Again, some Purdue fan friends of mine were bothered about the announcement. I'm like, you have to do that as a guy who's got people gunning after you. He has people that were clearly tampering with him. So he made the announcement quietly. It was no surprise to Purdue. There was no drama behind it at all. Nothing but good stuff from Omer, and he has signed, which is excellent news. And I agree. Every time you see somebody's name in your Twitter feed, you wonder, is this going to be bad news? And it's a shame this era is like this. M3 Adjuster Mark says, hello from DFW as well. Look at this. A little bit of a party there. Boiler Up, Hammered Down says, and we're live. Also, I commented on the IU Michigan National Championship post by saying, best 2 teams money can buy. Some of the responses, and all I can say is the internet is a magical place. If they're not admitting that those rosters were purchased, it's silliness. But Michigan specifically, and May has tried to craft his message with his cutesy ways and his fake nice guy thing, but they absolutely purchased the entire, the 4 of the starting 5. There's no other way around it. There just isn't. And if that's okay, if they want to embrace that, that's fine. It's within the rules. The question is, do you like it as a fan, as an alum? It's up to you to decide. I can tell you, I don't like him. I don't like May because he's a fraud, but that's okay. He's a fraud who's a really, really good coach too. And I'm not being sarcastic, facetious about that at all. To get talent in and then win, those are 2 different things. Getting talent in, his talent assessment is excellent. He found guys, regardless if he's spending money or not, he found the right guys for the role. He found guys that he made better. That's coaching as well. So he's a really good coach. I'm not going to take that away from him. I just think he's a jackass. Matt Keller says, Clough coming back would be huge, but not getting my hopes up. I don't think you should get your hopes up. If you're counting on the NCAA for your joy, you're going to be a joyless person. So, don't do it. Boiler Up, Hammer Down says, most IU fans bitter about spending $32 million on a basketball team and not even making the tournament. IU sucks, by the way, help Purdue. Yeah, here's the thing about numbers that come out. You'll hear the number 15 million. You've heard the number 12 million as the only way you can be respectable in college basketball. You heard that IU spent close to 15 million last year. $32 million basketball budget. That's a real number. That is correct. But we don't know exactly what they're spending on the roster still. You just don't. I do know IU spent a lot of money, and it didn't get them a lot of results. So that's my whole point about May. May got a bunch of dudes. They paid a bunch of money for him. And guess what? They gelled, and he got them to all face the same direction, sing the same song, whatever you want to call it. That's great coaching. It really is. He's a very good coach, and he's shown it in multiple stops now. Do you have to like him? No. Should you cheer that the Big Ten has 3 championships? I'm not. I don't know what it does that's positive for Purdue, seeing Michigan win a national championship. I don't understand what's positive about Purdue's football team to see IU win a national championship. Did I watch either national championship in football and basketball? I didn't. And I also, I could be alone in this, but I don't see any point in watching 2 teams that I don't like square off. I don't see anything positive. I didn't know who to root for. I didn't even have any rooting interest. The closest thing to a rooting interest that I had was that there was a kid from Indiana on UConn, but he went and he made a deal with the devil and that he went and played for Hurley. What the hell? What are you supposed to do in that situation as a fan? I had no dog in that fight, and I didn't watch the game. So whatever. Peter Jung says, I can't help but view this season as successful. I completely agree. Really enjoy how Pate handles the players in the program. I'm glad that we can get to know our players and root for them for years. Yeah. It's so nice to be able to find some relatability and to find out that you know these guys' personalities. The fact you can get to know the story behind them, that takes time. And yeah, I'm glad about that. So I'm with you. Greg Stuckey says, so just one in the portal so far. Yep. And good for him. He can go somewhere and get playing time. Wish him nothing but the best. See, Greg, so I completely agree. And I've said this before. I want to reiterate this idea that when a player enters the portal, take it case by case. Not every player that enters the portal is a guy that's easy to root for on their next stop. They're just not. Aaron Fine is one. It's very easy to root for Aaron Fine. Very easy. He's a guy that didn't have a role on the team to play other than in mop-up duty, sadly. He's a talented guy. He will find a place to play. He's a good basketball player. He came to Purdue. He took a lesser situation to try to go for a bigger program because I don't think he had any offers from Big Ten type schools. Good for him. He took a swing. And so just take it case by case. I think that's a fair thing to do. There are some guys, when they leave, you can say, man, it didn't look like there was a spot for him. And it's Will Berg, right? You're like, he was getting squeezed out of his position, out of his minutes. And I like Will Berg. So, yeah. Let's see. Boiler Bugle says, does Purdue have a November tournament in 26? Planning on my vacation for the year. I should know this, but I don't know. I assume they will have one, but I don't know. If any of you guys know that, if there's a holiday tournament Purdue's attending, let me know. I assume they do. Of course, they got the big game versus Gonzaga in Vegas to start the season. Gonzaga is a roster that's going to be drastically different than this year. I think they've got 5 guys that have entered the portal. They've got the attrition of 8, I think. Another team that suffered greatly in the portal, and I do feel bad about this. I don't care even if it's somebody like Mark Few or Collins at Northwestern, but Northwestern lost 5 guys to the portal. It's tough. This era stinks. And the agents put ideas in people's heads, and when the moms and dads or whoever their counsel is joins in, I can tell you this much: if you're a Northwestern kid, you're going to get a Northwestern diploma. Why not take that? Unless you just are absolutely elite and you just were getting a bad deal from Collins, take the Northwestern scholarship. My gosh, man, it's like leaving Stanford. In the big picture, having a Northwestern diploma is really, really good. And the chance of these guys playing more than a couple years in Europe aren't really all that great. So Just my 2 cents. Again, let's see. Greg Manis says, good question. Boiler Beagle talks back. Jack-o'-lantern. J Money is here, says, a real non-setup question from me. Okay, real thing here. I'll believe it when I see it. Will redshirting be less of a thing going forward in college basketball, given how players can just transfer and get money and play elsewhere? Yeah, so I think it will generally in college basketball. I think most coaches will say, I'm not going to redshirt a kid and use that spot and use that scholarship money, and then he's just going to turn around and punch me in the face. And I think that's generally going to be the rule. Most programs will bring a kid in and say, we're not redshirting and we're going to try to play them, especially if they're, if you look at Purdue's guys that might redshirt and the Purdue guys that are coming in. For instance, I would say Rivers Knight, he's a great candidate for redshirt just because he's coming off injury. I don't care where you are. That seems like that makes sense. Weber, on the other hand, now it will be one of those things where it'll be discussion among him and his family, just like it's been among these. Antoine West redshirting last year is totally countercultural, and I don't think it would happen in most places. If Antoine West would have signed with Ohio State, because I think he's from the state of Ohio, out of high school, he would have not redshirted, I don't think. I think they would have tried to play him just enough to keep him involved, keep him interested, and then try to keep him around at the end when his contract was up. So, yeah, I agree with you, Jay, that it's going to be something that's not normal. That said, I think it's going to be something that Purdue sticks with. Boiler Bugle says Miles Colvin in the portal. Could he come back? No, I don't think he'll come back. I don't think Paint wants him back. So it doesn't, I don't think that's on the table. I don't think Paint does that. Granted, it could be proven wrong, but no, I don't think he comes back. I think Colvin, all he wants is to start and be featured. That's it. That's all he wants. Granted, he started and was featured at Wake Forest, and he's in the portal again. Indy Boiler says, I believe we are one athletic 4-5 away from being a great squad. With our big three leaving, we become more balanced scoring team. Both teams on Monday night were balanced 1 through 5 in bench and scoring. Those teams, though, they were balanced, but they were hyper talented. I mean, Purdue was talented, but Purdue wasn't NBA talented, right? Those teams, UConn, Michigan, Illinois, Arizona, all of them were NBA-type rosters. Do I like the NBA? I don't at all. But I can tell you, I can see when I'm in person and I watch a team like Michigan or like Illinois playing, they're different than Purdue or Wisconsin even, right? And I watch those teams play in person too. Arizona, different. UConn, different. So you can say they were balanced, but they were just incredibly athletic. Incredibly long, incredibly talented. So, that's next level stuff. Jason D says, wait, so Sam King could end up being the greatest walk-on in Purdue history? Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the greatest walk-on Purdue basketball history. Nice job. Yeah, Sam King could play a significant role, and that's awesome. And I think... Yeah, I think it'd be great to see. I think we'd all love it, and Purdue fans would rally around it. Boiler Up Hammer Down says, I'm desperately trying to shift my focus to football, but Barry has been giving some low vibes during post-practice interviews. Okay, good. I'm glad you brought this up. This is in my notes. So first thing, spring game is Saturday at Ross-Ade. I'm not going to be able to go. I'm traveling with my family. You guys should go. Come back and report. I'm going to try to watch it. It's been on the Big Ten Network in previous years. I'll try to watch it. Here's my sad thing, and it kind of goes along with what you're talking about. I've been watching the media availability from Odom and other coaches. I don't see anything here that I'm like, oh man, can you believe he just said that, or anything like that. I'm not putting Odom down or any of that. Last year I was pretty excited, and I feel like I've been burnt 2 years in a row during the off season, so I'm not going to do that again. I'm just not going to. Do I like Odom? Yeah, I like Odom. Do I like this staff? Yeah, I like this staff. Do I also feel like that was horrible football last fall? Yeah, I do. So I hope they're awesome. I hope they're great. I hope they surprise me and everybody else. If you are already on board and say that team's going to be great, more power to you. I'm not going to tell anybody not to be optimistic about your favorite squad. That said, I am not there. Does that mean I'm not into it? No. Does that mean I'm following it fully this spring? Absolutely not. So Yeah, there's a lot of question marks. Need to be inverse. Andrew says, sorry if you covered this. I showed up late. But do you know anything about the newcomer's ability on defense? I don't. I think there's some good things out there, though, to think about. I do think that one thing is length always matters on defense. Lateral quickness matters on defense. And the third thing is, how much do they just want to do the job, right? But you really need athleticism, quick athleticism on defense to be really competent in this era. And then the next thing you need is like big, strong dudes who can crash the glass. That's the bigger question that I have right now is, can Purdue rebound next year? Defense, I think, can come. And I think it will come. And I think Painter's going to have to focus more on it next year. The goal this year was to be the number one offense in the nation according to offensive efficiency, and they did it. That's a huge deal. I know it's not a Final Four. I know it's not a national championship, but to do something like that after saying you plan on doing it is a big deal. Now you look at the defense on the other side; they were around 30, and really they were much worse than that in that last third of the season. They were in the 40s. So will they be better? I think they will be better. Will they be top 10? I don't think so. I don't see any reason to believe that on this group. Meyer is a guy who is a work in progress. Ertl's a freshman, so it's going to be hard to come right in. Even good basketball players that come in that become good defensive players. Let's use Ray Davis. Let's use Chris Kramer as models here, right? Both those guys had to grow into their roles. Kramer's a tremendous athlete and strong guy right out of the chute because he played football. Ray Davis was not a good defender when he came to Purdue, and he became a great defender. And that was mostly because he said, I got to work at this. So what do we know about these guys? We know Antoine West isn't the most bulky guy. It's hard to take the physical rigors of Big Ten basketball. I think he looks pretty quick. I don't think he's the quickest Purdue dude we've ever seen by any means. Let's see. I think Cox and Harris are both solid defenders. Like, that's the funny thing. Cox was Purdue's best defender by a lot last year. And then at the end of the season, Clough became a shot blocker. It was awesome. Jacobson has a propensity to be a very, very good rim protector. At the end of the season, he either lost confidence and or physicality, whatever. And he has the ability to be pretty good too. Juan could be really good around the rim too. Burgess is a big, strong dude. I don't know if he's off the court quite quick enough to be a big time shot blocker. Pierce is a good athlete. So Benter, Benter is not like I think what every Purdue fan would love to see is Purdue to have a prototypical NBA wing, right? Bad news, don't have it. Benter's a scorer, though. Benter's a guy that can get awakened next year. You're going to need somebody to take shots and to look for their shot. He will look for his shot, especially when given a bigger role in that. He'll get more minutes automatically, regardless if he's playing 3 or 4. So, but will he be a great defender? I don't know that. I don't know. Sorry. Let's see. Indy Boiler says, don't love being 6-6 at the 6-6 at the 4 in the Big Ten. Would love to see him starting at the 3 and Burgess at the 4. Agree with that. People are underestimating Burgess's development, forgetting he was hurt at the end of 24-25. I'm not underestimating. I think Burgess is going to be great. The big thing is I hope he can stay healthy. That's my biggest. He ended high school hurt, and he came into college and he had to deal with an injury again. So hopefully he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he'll be a very big impact guy. He's a big body too, and he's very skilled. So he can also pop out and shoot the 3, which is nice on offense. Dylan says, okay, I'll keep going. Drew Dishman says, any plans for for one last basketball beat for the season? I don't know if Jay Money's still on here. Got to ask him. Jay and Anish talked about putting one together a week ago, and I couldn't do it. I was just beat the day they wanted to do it. Jay was out of town. I would think there'd be one more in us, yes. But I'm along for the ride there, honestly. They're busy, so they're busier than I am. M3 just said, Pierce committed to Purdue over the likes of UConn, Duke, Louisville, Gonzaga in February. He's officially signed. Yeah, him getting signed is a big deal because it puts him in the stable. And beating those coaches is huge to me. UConn, Duke, Gonzaga. Warms my heart. So I'm with you. Zach Britt says, I've been able to watch a lot of Ertl in person. I can tell you that the kid has the potential to be a big-time leader. Super, super selfless kid. Very obvious that his teammates love him. Yeah, I have a friend who played football with him. I don't know if I think I told this story, but if I'm being redundant, I apologize. But a friend of mine, his son played with Ertl at McCordsville on the football team. My friend's son is 2 years older, and he said when Ertl was playing, I think he played quarterback as a sophomore, he just said, you need to step up because he's like a super nice kid. And he looks to me at when he had dedicated himself just to basketball, the switch went off and he became just an incredible on-court leader and a much, much bigger threat to score all the time. He went up the ranks quickly when that happened. So I really like Ertl a lot. And I like the fact that he played football too. I like kids to play multiple sports. I think it's so good for them. Just a sidebar commentary. If you've got kids that are sports aged, let them play multiple sports. It's good for them. Really, really good for them. From an injury standpoint, from other things, yeah, let them play multiple sports. Encourage it. Indy Boiler says, I have to have NBA talent to win a championship. No doubt about it. Here's what it is. Can't remember the last team that won a national championship without at least 2 surefire NBA draft picks. And I think that number is the formula. I think that's true. And when you saw Purdue play with one, when Edey, and they had a bunch of other guys that could be, like in the future, you're like, oh, they may be, but they're not there now. UConn had 3. They had 3, I think, top 10 NBA picks. So, yeah, there is a formula there. And I think UConn has 3 and then 5 guys on that roster that were later. Ball wasn't on that team. But Caravan, for instance, was on that team. Caravan will be picked high in the NBA still, even though he stayed back and was countercultural. Dang, 22-34 says, I'm pretty sure Rowinski was a walk-on. He was. Jim Rowinski was a walk-on, and very, very good point. So will Sam King supplant Jim Rowinski as the greatest Purdue walk-on ever? I doubt it. I'm not going to rule anything out, but Jim Rowinski was awesome. All Big Ten, I think for 2 years. Power forward, undersized power forward. If you are not old enough to remember him, he was great to watch. He was an absolute beast, and he kind of set the precedent for Gene Katie big men being overachiever, tough guys. So, yeah, Jim Rowinski, bad dude. Good job bringing that up. Let's see. Greg Manis says, Odom is measuring how he speaks, but I think no portal opening after spring practice helps to a degree. Continues, says, but football schedule is brutal again. Win the ones you should, and please drop the insane out of conference games. So Greg is referencing a couple things in there. First one is Purdue's schedule, according to One Magazine, is the number 1 schedule in the Big Ten next year again. Here's the funny thing. Purdue fans said, oh, it's going to be so much better last year. The last 2 years have been brutal schedules. Next year may be worse when you look at what's on paper right now. Continuing to keep Notre Dame in the schedule is detrimental to Purdue. There's no reason to do it anymore. They don't consider Purdue a rival. There's no respect there. I'd just get them off the schedule. Easiest thing to do, and they'll be off soon enough anyway. So there's just no reason to put these monsters on the schedule like they have. And that was really Babinski, Brahm, and Berghoff. They really made that important. There was a different era just a short time ago, 5-7 years ago, and they really made the schedule difficult. So, yeah, Purdue needs to put some delicious cupcakes in there. And if you say, well, IU doesn't do it, they don't get your respect, they're reigning national champ, so it worked okay for them. Boiler Up Hammer Down says, appreciate his consistent messaging. Odom, he's talking about. Though this time last year, there was a level of excitement in his tone. He had to have it, which was ruined by the 2-10 start, crank up the odometer. Yeah, he had to come in with a lot of enthusiasm because, number one, you want to get fans on board. You want to get them excited too. But I do think this roster is much better constructed than last year. And there are a bunch of guys that are going to surprise the Big Ten and Purdue fans specifically. It's a better talent level, top to bottom, and there's more depth. The big thing that I'm excited to see, the more I look at them, is the wide receivers are going to be a lot better than I thought they were. Especially after Purdue said, okay, we're done, our roster's done. I wanted them to go after some different types of guys, but I think they've got some in there, and they need it. Throttle Power says, Boiler Up, already looking forward to next basketball season, same as me. Nolan says, title game was fixed for Michigan. Like I said, I didn't watch it. Could have been. Let's see. Got a bunch of repeats down here. Let's see. Throttle Power says, fingers crossed for a decent football season this year. Nolan says, one of the title game officials had history with UConn. How was he allowed to work that game? And also Jeffrey Johnson was in that, right? Wasn't he? That's enough to say that's an awful officiating crew. So I don't know. I do know that the poor officiating that is rampant in NCAA basketball makes the game less serious and less respectable. That's a fact. So, all right, that's about it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in today in this somewhat impromptu. It's not a quick cast. It's never. Here's the thing. The QuickCast name existed before we started this streaming and good community thing that we do. The idea of having a QuickCast where I'm in and out in 15 minutes and I'm done, it would be predicated on me either not reading comments or only picking a couple. I don't want to do that. I enjoy this too much. So I need to come up with another clever name for whatever these are, but I can just title them, and that's just fine. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. Hope you have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's turning in central Indiana. It's going to be warm again after getting down to in the 30s last night. It is spring. So Peerless Double Oaked is good, says Nolan. And I haven't tried Peerless Double Oaked. Tried Peerless Rye, never Double Oaked. Boiler Up Hammer Down says, will better receivers make up for a predictably unimaginative offensive coordinator? Purdue has a lot to improve upon. Just a lot. There's stuff to improve upon all over the field. I want to see play calling better. I want to see a miracle in that a defensive coordinator that's proven he wasn't good at Purdue becomes something. He's supposedly the best dude in the world. That's great. I love that. But at the same time, there's so much to prove. So much room for improvement. So much room for Purdue fans to get behind something that is a good story. We've missed it, and Purdue fans deserve it after last few seasons. They've just been brutal. Andrew says, just speaking for myself, love this motto, QuickCast or not. Appreciate it. And I do too. I like talking to you guys. And I think the community really matters. I do wish I could find a format where I would have a quick one in here because everything is difficult. Like I get up to 47 minutes here and the ripping of the audio is also a major pain. And there's no good way around that either right now, which is great. So I appreciate all you guys being here. God bless you. Hammer down. Talk to you soon. I think that's the last basketball wrap-up I'll do. But I will put in the good word with Anish, Jay, and Michael and see if a basketball beat is coming. It should be. They owe it to you. Talk to you soon. Late.